All right, Panther fans. Yeah, what's today? Is it Monday or is today Tuesday?
Tuesday the
Today's
22nd.
whatever day this is. We had Billy Lindsay in the morning. We got Randy Moller in the afternoon. And when I went to play catch with Kyle, I cracked the joke. I said, I can fit you in between Billy and Randy. So he got a good kick out of that. So my buddy Stu is here. Obviously, Randy Moller's here. Real big thanks. I wanted to just get this part out of the way. Been doing this over 6 years. Randy, thank you for coming on, number one. And number two, this is video 800 for me.
So congratulations.
Yeah,
that's a great milestone.
Yeah.
And we got over 1,500 subscribers now. So you've played a part in that. I'm always grateful that you take the time to join us. You know, you are pretty much the voice of the Panthers. I mean, you and Goldie, you know, listen, I
like to say,
I don't blow smoke up your butt, but you guys are the best.
Yeah, well, been on a few times. If you got the money, honey, I got the time. You run short of money, I run short of time.
Nobody smiles more on a telecast right before the period.
Yeah, that was something Stu wanted to ask you about. Was every time he sees you on TV, no matter what's happened, you're smiling. And I kind of figured your answer would be, have you seen what I get to do for a living?
Well, it's a combination of that. It is, yes, I am the luckiest man in the world and love what I do. But also too is before we go on the air, there's usually some pretty funny stuff being said between Goldie and I, or producer or director, a combination of stuff or whatever. And usually there's a few shots and gotcha. And that. So, but hey, guys. Okay. It's very easy to be in a good mood and to smile with the team that I cover. They play exciting hockey, and they're always on the attack. And it's such an enjoyment to describe how and why they're playing that way. That's one of the main reasons why I'm always got a smile on my face.
Yeah, no doubt. So obviously, first thing we want to get to are the trades. And what this team is now, which the fan base, we're in this odd position because on this hand, like I said earlier, we haven't won in 25 years. We haven't won around. And on the other hand, now everybody is saying we're the cup favorites. And just walk us through your version and vision of what happened and the flexibility that it gives us, especially obviously with not just with Sherratt, but with Giroux as well.
Okay, well, and it's easy, and we don't want to suppress the excitement of our fans and the fans that tune in and on your podcast religiously, and thank you to all those fans. It's been a long time. We've been through a lot. And there's been more downs than ups, and there's been sideways, start overs, reverse, back up, go forward, 2 steps forward, 4 steps back. Okay, we've all been through that. There was a reason a number of years ago, I'll give Dale Talon a little bit of credit here, realizing that, you know what, the Barkov, Ekblad, Huberdeau, even though they're in their 3rd, 4th, 5th year or whatever, just the team, and maybe they weren't ready for prime time. Well, so you go out and you get assets and acquire assets and continue to build and compete. And like a lot of fans need to realize in that when you get draft picks and you do draft players, that doesn't necessarily that they are pigeonholed and they have to play for the Florida Panthers. They're assets, and you can bundle assets to go out and trade for another asset that's at the immediate need of your team. Okay, enough of that. Over the last number of years, and I'm sure you guys were years ago, Panthers were acquiring assets and draft picks. It's like, oh, give me a break, and that. But it was needed. It was needed because we weren't ready for prime time. What I mean prime time is compete for the cup. Now we're there. Barkov, Ekblad, Huberdeau, Bobrovsky, all in their prime, coming into their prime of their careers. It's go time. So that's when a Bill Zito, and with the support of ownership, you can't do without the support of the Viola family, saying, okay, we're going for it. We're probably not going to have a first round draft pick for the next 3 years. We're probably going to miss a second one. We're probably going to do this and that. We're going to empty the shelves a little bit, but we've built up enough of resources and depth in the organization that we're ready to do it. Guys, there's only a small window for any sports team. Ask the NHL, the NFL, the NBA, you name it, baseball. There's only a small window. And if you recognize that this is your window, then that's when you go. And that's what the Panthers have done. It's so exciting. We all know that the Panthers, even before the trade deadline, had an excellent team and one of the favorite teams, one of the top 4 teams that are favored for the cup. Okay, everybody understands that. Everybody agrees to that. But what they did was really support the players that are on there. And, Radko Gudas said it, Duclair said it. It is so nice to keep adding more assets and more depth. And I've said it before, we talked about it yesterday, and that there's never been a team in the last 40 years in the NHL that have won the Stanley Cup with 6 defensemen and 12 forwards. It doesn't happen.
Right.
You need depth. You need a lot of different players. Now, how you distribute that ice time, how do you distribute players in the lineup on a certain, that's for the coaches to decide and that. But when you have quality players and we've demonstrated that this year, where there's been players hurt, COVID, what have you, and that we insert players and we just keep going. There's no big drop off with, oh my God, the sky is falling, so-and-so got hurt. Guys just step in and you don't seem to miss a beat. So to round it all up, I'm really excited. I think what Giroux is going to mean to the Barkov line, power play. Guys, that we were 26 in the NHL. We are 26 in the NHL in face-off winning percentage.
Yeah.
We're 26. They address that. Giroux is rated number 3 right now in the NHL in face-off wins, percentage wins. He has been over the last few years, either 1 or 2 or 3 and that. So that's going to help. The power play, even penalty killing. The fact that Ben Sherratt and Giroux have had a taste of Stanley Cup finals and have not gotten to over the hill, or at the top of the mountain, I should say, is really motivating for them. And they're really excited about fitting in here. And the big thing that I want to say is, like, for Claude Giroux and even Ben Sherratt, they don't have to be the guy.
Right.
This is not their team.
Right.
This is Barkov and Huberdeau and Ekblad and Bobrovsky, and this is their team. They just got to come in and fit in and do their job. And knock on wood, that health plays a big part down the stretch and in the playoffs. And we get Ekblad back sooner than later. That's what's so exciting about it. And you can tell in my demeanor how excited I am. And I'm excited for the players, but mostly I'm excited for the fans that are so looking forward to this stretch run and hopefully success in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We have passed, I mean, you're at every game. That arena has slowly but surely been increasing, and it's loud in that place. Every time I go to a game, I mean, we might not have, our arena is pretty big, 20,000, but 17,000, 18,000. I'm sure it's going to be filled when the playoffs start, but we're a loud crowd, and the players have said they feed on that energy.
Yeah.
So
there's really good vibes. There's great vibes, and everybody's feeling so positive now. And you know what? I'll be honest with you guys. 2 weeks ago, when the rumors started to float around that maybe the Panthers were interested or whatever in Claude Giroux, and I thought, oh no, this isn't. Let's not get our hopes up. I mean, we're going to have to give a pail full of. We're going to lose Anton Lundell, or we're going to lose this guy, or we're going to, and that. Yet, throughout all of this, they got Giroux, Ben Sherratt, and Robert Haig.
Right.
very quality defenseman. He led the Buffalo Sabres in block shots and hits before the trade. Only one roster player had to leave for us to do that. And that was Frank Toronto.
Yeah.
That's Zito, who's brought in Forsling, Reinhardt, Bennett, Duclair, Lombard, Marchment.
Right.
I mean, Marchment from Malgin. It's just incredible what that guy and his staff have done. The thing with Giroux, Randy, just goes to show you the power of a no trade clause.
Yeah.
He wanted to come here.
Yeah,
I mentioned that in the last video that Eric and I did. That's why we didn't lose any more players. I mean, Fletcher had a gun to his head. It's like, this is where I want to go. So in the past, nobody wanted to come here. Now everybody wants to come here.
No, that's not correct, Stu. That's not correct. Players wanted players wanted to come here because they wanted to come here and retire while still playing.
Yeah.
And guys, that's all changed now. This has now become a destination. Players want to play with Barkov, with Ekblad, with Huberdeau. Athletes want to win. They want to be associated with winners. They like the feeling of winners. And that, I mean, I played 13 years and I made the Stanley Cup semifinals twice. That's as close as I got. And, I look back at my career and no regrets. I had a lot of fun and I lasted a lot longer than I should have. I fooled them for a few years and that, but
big goal scorer.
Not being able to even have a chance at winning the cup. So now being with an organization for this long and have this opportunity, I'm just as giddy as the players and the fans are because to be around and talk to the guys, the broadcasters from Tampa Bay and from St. Louis and that the feeling of being a part of a team, even if you're just a broadcaster or in the organization, is pretty special. And that's what I'm hopefully looking forward to.
Right.
You were at the press conference yesterday, weren't you?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
So you heard what Giroux said about playing with Barkov.
Yeah.
He's giddy like a school kid.
Yeah.
That's going to be, I just can't wait for Thursday to see. I mean, they only had a few days to practice, but I want to see the chemistry between these two.
Well, I watched Giroux in practice today. I was at practice and playing with Barkov and that. Boy, he can shoot the puck. And that's another thing. I mentioned this yesterday. I don't do it as much anymore. There's a few different reasons, but for three or four solid years, I was between the benches for 95% of the games. And you guys know, because you were watching and being at the games and that. I guess I'm very fortunate. I get to see these players up close and not only watch them and perform up close, but their interactions with their teammates, against the opposition, with the officials, with the coaching staff. You're right there. I hear everything. And one thing about Claude Giroux is how competitive he is. And even though Philadelphia has not had a very successful last few seasons, a couple of seasons, 3 seasons or whatever, you see him, and I've watched him close and listened to what he's saying on commercial breaks and how positive he is and how driven he is to succeed, even when his team is down 3-0 or whatever. And he wants to make a difference and go out there that next shift and really try and make a difference, whatever. That's what really impresses me. I've seen it up close and this is no smokescreen. This guy, he's got all the tools and I thought Bill Zito said it best yesterday at the press conference. He said there was a number of teams looking for a number of players and that to get what they feel was plug some holes in order to get them to a higher level. Bill Zito said, we got it all in one player. Face off, play with Barkov, a big key on the power play, can kill penalties, a veteran guy in the locker room that's been very close. He's gone to the Stanley Cup Finals. He said he checked so many of the boxes and we were able to get all these things with one player. So kudos to them.
The one thing I wanted to ask you about Giroux and this is hypothetical and down the road, obviously, but especially considering we didn't have to give up a whole lot to get him. Do you think there's any chance he stays with us on the cheap, or do you think it's a foregone conclusion that he'll go somewhere else after this season?
Not to skirt the question, but let's worry about that. Let's say, yeah,
No, no.
because
We lost you. We lost you
Number
for a
one is-
second.
We lost you. The
We lost
internet
you for a
skirted the
second.
question for you.
You froze.
Yeah, you froze up. So we lost you you were saying, I don't want to skirt the question, not to say, and then while you were thinking about it, the internet said, you're done.
Okay, all right. So not to skirt the question if I'm back or whatever, but it can go a number of different ways. You ask if Claude Giroux is going to be a Florida Panthers next fall. Obviously, you'd have to sign. He's an unrestricted free agent. What will dictate that will be a number of different things, and it's going to be on the ice, off the ice. For example, God forbid the Panthers win the Stanley Cup. That's going to play a lot, because once you win it once, you want to win it again. And that could influence a decision of Claude Giroux. Also off the ice too. He's got a young family. This is a new place. He was in Philadelphia for 15 years. He's got a lot of roots there, a lot of friends. How do they acclimate to South Florida? There'll be a lot of decisions, but if he has a great experience here, which we all think he will, and the team does win and have success, that's gonna tilt it, I think, on that side. But then again, now you're talking salary caps, and the Panthers have to sign Huberdeau and Anton Lundell, and oh boy, we don't want to dive in that pool right now. But let's just enjoy what we got right now and worry about that later.
Yep. So before, I know Stu's got, but this is related, because you mentioned the cap and everything. So with the Ekblad, now we want to ask you about the whole Ekblad injury and all of that. But the thing that I want to ask your opinion is everything that happened last year with the whole cap circumvention and how everybody got on them about that. My opinion of it is it didn't really bother me then. It's in the rules. And for me, the way I look at it is like from the NHL and the players' position, that rule allows better players to end up in the playoffs, which to me sounds like the league would not want to change that. What's your take on all of that?
Well, I've been asked, I mean, you're talking about the Kucherov thing, and everybody was accusing the Tampa Bay Lightning of the circumvention of the rules or whatever. Guys, if they broke the rule, the NHL would have come down on them and wouldn't allow it.
Right.
So the NHL allowed it, so obviously it's allowable, and that, so case closed. I mean, why? I'm not saying it for you. I mean, because it's a great topic and that, but it was collectively bargained. It's in the collective bargaining agreement as far as long-term injuries and how you can, if a player's a long-term injury, you can add salary and go out and acquire more players and that, so you can be competitive and fill a full roster and all that kind of stuff. It didn't look good because of the timing of it, and because Kucherov was skating weeks before he actually came back in the playoffs and that kind of stuff. But I trust the NHL that if there was something that didn't smell too good, they would have done something, and possibly and then the Lightning would have had to pay the repercussions of that. That never happened. So let's just move on.
Yep. All right, Stu.
Yeah, let them change the rule if they want to. So let's get back to the power play, Randy, because Eric and we were talking to Billy this morning. So 2 questions. Number one, who do you think should be quarterbacking the first unit? And number 2, if Giroux's on there and they don't use 5 forwards, who comes off?
Okay, well, because Aaron Ekblad's injury for the next how long, I have no idea. That the options that they have are Barkov, Giroux, Mackenzie Weegar, Montour,
Reinhardt.
What's that?
Reinhardt.
Well, yeah. I mean, Reinhardt as well. So what they did today at practice, they had the 5 forwards out there was Giroux and Barkov. And Barkov and Giroux both took a number of shifts and that playing the top point on the power play. I don't have a problem with that at all. I love it. Now, you'll get the pessimists that will say, oh, you don't have a defenseman. If you lose control, you're going to give up shorthanded goals. Alexander Barkov is as good as any defenseman in the NHL.
Yeah.
We watch him play, how he strips guys of the puck and how strong and how quick he is and all that kind of stuff. I don't have a problem with it. It's how they execute on who's going to be at that top. And then they want Giroux. If you're facing the net, they want him on that left side. He's a right-handed shot for the one-timer. He's like Alexander Ovechkin. He has scored a ton of goals, Giroux, on the power play. And and then you got
that means moving Huberdeau.
Yeah, and then you that's just it. But then you can use Huberdeau on the other side, or with Reinhart, they can switch from the side of the net and then Huberdeau can play that bumper in the middle, where they bump the pass and try and draw the defenders out of position and that. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to see how it's going to work out. We all know the one thing we all agree with, they got a boatload of talent, offensive talent that's on the that's on the ice. So and then the second unit, you got Bennett, you got Verhaeghe, you got Montour, you got Weegar. Out there, they had Marchman out there as well, and then Hornquist in front of the net, and that on the second unit. So let's just see how it happens, how they're able to. The one thing though that I like to see, and that's when we've scored 13 power play goals in the last 10 games. We're one of the hottest teams in the NHL on the man advantage. A lot of that has to do with talent, but the main thing, and I want to see it continue. Who's ever on the ice, move the puck quick with purpose.
Right.
And if you have a shot, be selfish, take the shot, then everybody crash the net. They've scored a number of goals that way. It's hanging on to that puck and not moving, and that when you're stationary and you're moving the puck not quick, oh boy, I killed penalties my whole life in the NHL. I love that as a defenseman. Oh yeah, okay, just stand over there against the boards and handle. Then I'll just stand here in good position and that. The strategy Oilers and the Colorado Avalanche and some of the teams, the Rangers got a good power play.
Carolina.
Oh, have you guys got me?
Yeah. We only lost you for a half a second.
Okay, is how quickly they move that puck around, and the reason they do that is you're not going to score on a power play very often unless you pull one or two of the defenders out of position, and then that becomes a double team somewhere else. And if you can get the puck there, that's where the tic-tac-toe, and that's where you score the goals. That's what 90% of the strategy when you're on the power play in the National Hockey League. Somehow you got to pull those defenders that are in that box, protecting out in front of the net, get them out of the position, get them chasing, move the puck quick. Now, it's like Reinhart are down on the goal line. Now we can step out, either pass it or shoot it. Then everybody crashes in that. That's how you score goals.
Yep.
I think the problem with the power play when it wasn't working is getting it in the zone.
Yeah. And we seem to be a lot better with that, a lot more fluid through the neutral zone. We're able to carry it or just maybe bump it. They like to give it to Huberdeau, and then he gets over the blue line, and then he stops so quickly. And then that allows them an extra second and a half. And then that little pass back to Ekblad, and he walks the blue line, and now you're set up and you're spread out, and now you can go to work. And that it's been a lot better. And then the other thing is, I believe because of the pace and the style that the Panthers play, where they're attacking all the time, and the reason they have that success is they come with speed. Well, there needs to be a continuation of that on the power play. Just because you're on the power play, you don't go, hey, Mom, we're on the power play. It's going to be easy and that. No, you got to work just as hard or maybe even harder in order to have success and create those scoring chances with the man advantage.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because sometimes, in the past, it's kind of looked like we might take that foot off the gas just a little bit because, we've got the extra guy. So I know Stu wanted to talk about this, so this is kind of half his question, half mine. But I guess we'd like your take on, because now Ekblad's out, but we get Sherratt, then Ekblad's out, then we get Haig. So take us through what you like to see for the pairings now, and then in the playoffs when we assume Ekblad will come back.
Well, I'm like you guys. I think we're all in the same boat. Let's just see what happens. I was scribbling some D pairs and see what happened. That they really like Carlson, Lindbom. They really like Lindbom's size, his physicality. You got Gudis and Montour and now Uyghur. Are you going to put him over on the other side, on his right side where he's a natural? Or are you going to play him on the left side where he's played with Ekblad and that? I have drawn up about 7 different scenarios. I have no idea what they're going to do.
Who was paired today? Who was paired today, Rand?
What's that?
Who were the pairings today?
They were all over the place because, I mean, they had Egg. We don't have Sherratt here.
Yeah, Sherratt's not here either, right?
He's not here yet. They'll meet him in Montreal. So it was kind of a mismatch. Lindbom was on the ice and that. Good news is Lomberg was on the ice. Lindell wasn't.
Right.
Hornquist looks like he's back. If he's not ready on Thursdays, he was out there. He looked good in practice. So they have a lot of options, and the same thing with the defense. I'm just as interested. I'm glad you asked that question. I'm just as interested on what the D pairs will look like. With Sherratt in there, and who does he play with, and that. But then, I mean, it's all going to be thrown out the window once Ekblad gets back.
Right.
It really will.
Yeah.
That's the important thing is the playoffs. I mean, Sherratt's got 20 games, and Burnett's got 20 games to mess around with, with the pairings.
Well, same thing with the lines and that. But it all depends on, who's going and that, and of course injuries or players nicked up, and Loisterainen right now is playing a big part,
right.
At center and that, and we'll see what happens. Reinhart can play the center position too if they absolutely need to, and that. So there's different variations and looks of what the Panthers lines and D pairs will look like. The other thing that I'm happy about it. I said I was at practice today, and that it looks like Bobrovsky is back. He looks really good, and Andrew Burnett's comments after he was asked in his little press gathering that he said he thinks Bob is ready to go, but we'll see tomorrow. We got another practice tomorrow before they fly out to Montreal.
Right.
Any updates on Ekblad?
I haven't heard anything that you guys have heard. They put him on long term. There's a lot of things out there. Oh, he's out for 5 to 7 weeks. He's out 6 weeks. He's out 3 weeks. Who knows? I don't know anything. I didn't know anything more than you do. And I you know what? I'm not in that trainer's room or whatever, or in the conversation.
No, I was just curious because Burnett said yesterday that they were going to reevaluate and he could possibly have.
I think that, yeah, I think I believe the injury that he has is you can go back week after, in a week and then in another week, and you'll have a clear picture about how he's healing and that. The one thing you just don't want to rush back anybody.
Right.
He doesn't have to.
The good news is it's not a week before the playoffs are beginning.
Yeah.
We still got a little over 5 weeks or.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The end of April.
5 weeks to circle back in a few weeks because we'll have a clear picture.
Yeah.
At least it's not the bad leg that he had last year.
Yeah, it was the other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you about Huberdeau. So I just think since he had that Achilles injury, he has turned into an elite player. Not that he wasn't good before, but something just, you look at the stats since he came back from the Achilles injury. So I know he's got some stiff competition. What's your take on the Hart Trophy?
Okay. Well, let's first talk about Huberdeau. I think when that Achilles injury happened to Huberdeau, and he missed all that time, and that I think there's a number of things that have really transformed Jonathan Huberdeau. Number one is the injury that happened, that he really realized that, you know what, oh boy, my career could have been over. Number two is maturity. I think I don't think he was immature before, but he's really matured as a player. He realizes where the position that he's in and the legacy that he can leave for his family, for himself. He's much better. He concentrated on strengthening his lower body, his legs, his trunk to be able to protect the puck, and that. Remember a number of years ago, or when his first 3 or 4 years in the league, didn't really have that strong balance and the strength to protect or whatever. And then with the strength and that that turns into confidence, and then confidence turns into execution. And we see when he gets that puck, he's so confident with it, and he makes those extra moves or whatever. So there's a number of things why I think Jonathan Huberdeau has established himself over the last couple of years as one of the premier players, the top 10 players in the National League, maybe even top 5. The actual competition for the Hart Trophy, there's a lot of things that go into that, team success, and that. I mean, that goaltender for the New York Rangers, he continues to make, although he's he had a little bit of a dip there. He lost a couple in a row, but it wasn't his fault. I mean, he made some unbelievable saves. There's a lot of things that play in it, but no doubt that if Jonathan Huberdeau continues to produce right to the end of the regular season, and he's done now, he will be in the top 3.
Yeah. And the other guy, unfortunately, we were right at the point where we thought Lundell was really looking like the favorite for the Calder. He got this injury, but I want to get your take on this. My view on that is that a lot of times you see, especially young players. I mean, is he 18, 19, Lundell? He's young.
20. He's 20.
He's 20. Okay. So a lot of times you see the young players towards the end of it, if they played a full season, maybe towards the end of the season, certainly in the playoffs, their body kind of wears out because they're not really used to playing this. So this, to me, the hell with the Calder, this break that he's getting to rest his body while he's injured, to me, I see it as a silver lining.
I think so too. I agree with you. I agree with you. I think that only 20 years old in his first full season in the NHL, the mental pressure and that these young players have to go through and get up every game. Well, it can wear on you maybe more mentally than physically in that. This time off, you never want to see a player hurt, and that might be really beneficial for him. He comes back, and if he comes back this week or whenever, then like Stu was saying, we still got 18, 19 games left to really start ramping it up again. And then that's the key, guys, is
right
when you hit those playoffs. I've been on teams where we've won 9 out of 10 before the playoffs started, and we peaked too early and went like that. I've been on teams where we've struggled 500, below 500, coming into the playoffs, and all of a sudden things just come up slowly. And right there, when you start the playoffs, you're playing at a very high level as a team game. I've seen it both sides. I've played it both sides, and that's what the Panthers are hoping. They've had a phenomenal year, and they've stayed very consistent. But maybe with the Ekblad and the Lundell injury, and now with the new players being inserted, they'll take some time. They'll win their fair games and then right when that playoffs start, they're ready to go and really firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
The Panthers have played 20. They got 20 games left. Tampa's got 21 games. We got a 6-point lead.
Yeah, and out of those 20 games, Panthers will play 13. I believe it's 13 with teams that are not in the playoff race. Right. They still got 3 though against Toronto. Isn't it amazing? We haven't played the Toronto Maple Leafs. Right? I mean, it's just crazy. 3 against Toronto. We still got 1 against Boston, or 1 or 2 against Boston. We still got Tampa Bay at home. So you mix all that in there, and the Panthers, if they go about their business and win the majority of games against teams that they should, and then have success against the Torontos, Tampas, Bostons, yeah, they'll put themselves in a really good spot. I know that it's a priority for the team, the players. They want that home ice advantage in that first round. They really feel that if they've got that home ice, that the way that they play, what are they, 26-6 on home ice?
Yeah.
They feed off the crowd, the energy in the building, and that they really let me switch it around. They don't want to start the playoffs on the road. They want to start at home.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Home cooking.
Yeah. The one question I wanted to ask you, just a little bit about the Western Conference, real quick. About, what do you see now? Do you think Fleury changes anything? Do you think Colorado not getting Drew changes anything? What's your take over there?
Well, there's no doubt that Colorado is the cream of the crop out west. Not to be negative, there's a lot of mediocre teams in the Western Conference.
You know what's amazing? The Avalanche have 95 points
That are just fuddling around, and Minnesota Wild getting Fleury, that kind of caught my eye. Minnesota feels that if they hit their stride and with the team that they have, and now with Fleury and goal, that they can really do something. The Calgary Flames,
84 points.
boy, oh boy, the Calgary Flames, they are tough. I watched some of their games, later at night. I'm flipping around, and they are solid, and they score goals, and they are tough with Gabranson and these guys. They've got a lot of physicality. They got a big, heavy team, but they can also score goals. And so Colorado and Calgary, to me, are the two premier teams. And I think 95% of the so-called experts or people with opinions or whatever will agree.
Yeah. Well, it's just amazing that they're the only two teams with 80. I mean, obviously Colorado's got 90, but Calgary's got at 84, and then the Wild and Nashville's got 78, and then it just goes downhill from there. And think about, we have 4 teams in our division in the 80s, and obviously we have 90.
It's like, guys, what we see with the NCAA basketball, the March Madness, and everybody fills out their bracket, and then all of a sudden there's a school that you've never even heard about that beats a 1 or a 2 seed, and everybody's bracket goes out the window or whatever. Same thing in hockey. We see it every year. There's always an upset. There's always something. We saw Columbus. My goodness, they beat Tampa a few years ago, 4 straight in the first round. 4 straight after Tampa Bay won the President's Trophy by 30 points. How do you figure that? So, when you talk about the Nashvilles, the St. Louis Blues, whoever, the Minnesota Wild, and that, you don't know. They're capable of knocking off one of the top seeds and that, but no doubt my picks out west are Colorado and Calgary. I just don't see any weaknesses in those teams.
Yeah, and especially, in the Eastern Conference, we have fans of all the Eastern Conference teams that follow the channel for the most part, and the 8 teams that are in the playoffs, all of their fans say, no, we can win. There's no weaks. There's no weak team. Everybody, that is making the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, their fan base is convinced with the right turn of events that they can win. And it's pretty much true. The East, you guys said it on TV, the East is a beast. And it is just going to be a gauntlet, not too dissimilar for you young Panther fans who weren't around. 96, we had to beat Boston, then Philly, and then Pittsburgh. So it can be done.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh had Lemieux, Yager. Philly had Lindros. Obviously, Boston had Raybo. Yeah.
And you look, somebody, a fan I met out on the California road trip. Randy, who do you want to play? Who should we play in the first round? Well, I'm sitting there going, Boston. Oh boy. Pittsburgh, Washington, Toronto.
I don't know.
I don't.
God forbid, Tampa.
You know, it's.
That's why I
like-
think if we get past the first round and get off the schneid, we're on the way. I think
Yeah.
that's the big hurdle.
Yeah.
Because we got a monkey on our back with first round losses.
Yeah.
You get past that, confidence just goes shit.
Yeah. Well, and that, like I like to say, I mean, it's not going to be whoever that first round in the Eastern Conference is not going to be a church picnic. It's not going to be an easy, not like the old days. I remember when we played Buffalo that barely snuck in one year and beat them handily. We beat Hartford and that, oh boy, okay, let's just throw our sticks out there. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Anybody can beat anybody, and that as long as Pittsburgh has a Sidney Crosby that's healthy and Letang on defense, Washington with Ovechkin and Backstrom and the team that they have, Carolina, as long as Toronto has got decent goaltending with the firepower that they have up, the Boston Bruins, if they get Bergeron back, and that. These teams are not they're not pushovers, and I have the utmost respect for them.
Yep,
That's why we
absolutely.
need home ice advantage.
That's it, Stu. I'm glad that you agree with me in that. I'd rather play and start the playoffs in all the rounds starting at home. I that really, I mean, it can backfire if you lose the first two games at home, obviously, but you don't look at it that way. You stay positive that you got that home ice advantage. You win that first game. Now you're in control. Now, you only have to win 3 out of the next 6 games and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. So,
Right. Well,
So Randy, if we win the conference, we have home ice for all the rounds until the finals, don't we?
yeah. And then,
Yeah.
if you don't win the President's Cup, the team that wins the President's Cup, if they get into the finals, they have home ice advantage. So, and diverse, and rightfully so. And that, so that's, I think the Panthers really are, they're right now, they're in, like you mentioned, Stu, they're in a good position where they got a 6-point lead. And the games that they still got head-to-head games with Toronto and with Tampa, and that. So, if they take care of their own business, the old cliche, they'll be fine.
Yep.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I'm looking
All right.
forward to it.
Randy, we really appreciate it. The interesting thing here for me is that Stu's in Florida and I'm in Maryland. And yet at the same time in the video, the light started shining on the side of his face and on the side of my face. And we're 1,500 miles apart. I don't know how we did that, Stu, but we managed to do it.
So Randy, we had an idea before we started recording. Want to know if you're up for this. So we were thinking, we've not done it yet. We were thinking about getting Billy and you and maybe George Richards, all of us, on one, conference Zoom thing, maybe closer to the playoffs. I don't know.
Let's do it. I'm all for it.
Up for that?
You know me. I love talking hockey. I love talking Panther hockey and that. So I'd love to be involved. I'd be honored to be involved and put together.
I think Billy hands down would do it too. I just, we haven't had George on a little while because he's doing his own thing, but I'll mention it to him. Let's see if we can get it on. I don't know when you're thinking about doing it, Eric. I'm thinking about closer to the playoffs.
Yeah, closer to the playoffs.
As a preview.
Yep. Pretty much.
Okay.
Time it out as best we can. So,
Rand, you're the best, man.
Yeah,
I love
man.
you.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. I think he froze up again. Yep, he froze up again. There he is. Did we get him back? Are you back? You're back.
Yeah, you guys froze up too and that.
Yeah.
So all right.
So what I said was, I love you, man.
Yeah.
All right. Love coming on with you guys. Say enjoy
Thanks, Randy.
the rest of the road trip and that. Well, Goldie and I will be calling it from the studio in
From the
Fort
studio.
Lauderdale. We're not going to Canada. We're planning on going to that last road trip where we go to Boston, Ottawa, Montreal, and that to end the regular season. We're planning right now, knock on wood, we're going on that one. But they made the decision a while ago, and still with going to Canada, and if you test positive, you're stuck there for 7 days and that. So I totally agree with it. And you know what? I've said it before. Bally's does an unbelievable job, even though it's not my first choice. But when Goldie and I are in the studio, and Jessica and that, they do everything that they can, monitors and everything to make it as good as possible.
Right.
And hopefully you and the fans enjoy that. Yeah, we'll be calling the next 3 games and then we got those home games against Montreal and Chicago at home. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys, for having me on.
All right, thanks, Randy. We'll talk to you
Don't
later.
forget, you like the video, hit like, comments. We love comments.
Yep.
Hit
All right.
subscribe, all that good stuff. Randy,
Thank you,
have a
Randy.
good rest of your day, buddy.
Thanks, bud.
Talk to you later.
Yep.